What is up, everybody? This is Keith Jameson, Go Back Gear Guy 231 across the DFS industry. It feels like months, years, way too long since the Champions League has been in our life. Returns tomorrow, 2 games. We've got Manchester City going to Sporting. Manchester City's around a minus 400 favorite, total hovering around 3. And then we have PSG hosting Real Madrid. And to me, surprising odds on that. I was expecting it to be like plus 130 PSG. We do have PSG is right now about a minus 110 favorite at the time of recording. Total around 2.5, hosting Real Madrid. Should be a fun slate. Just gonna break it down from an optimal sense, like who I think that you're starting with, and you should be targeting for like cash games, head to head, single entry GPPs if you're kind of just playing for the floors, and along the way we'll give you some pivots for GPP, some guys that I like. So quick reminder, like, subscribe, comment, really helps continue to grow the channel. Give me that, I joke, the motivation to I remembered to mount the mount in the new car, forgot the hardwire, so hopefully the AirPods are doing their job and you guys get some decent audio. So we keep recording these, in between my stops from work. So let's start with City at Sporting. I think City is the most important part of the slate, just to make sure we get right. I think the 2 lock and loads are Riyad Mahrez and KDB. For those that have been watching all my EPL content, we know that City's actually been priced down a little bit recently, but those 2 to me are just like the consistents. Like, we know what we're gonna get. We're gonna get close to probably like 8 to 10 floor and some really nice goal assist upside. I always love Mahrez these days, because not only like when he's on the pitch, is he almost like a shoe-in to take some sets, right? With Foden, with Gundogan, with those kind of guys, you never know when they're going to come in and out. But KDB and Mahrez, we know take sets, and then Mahrez has the added boost of getting PKs, which just with as much pressure as City puts on teams when they're such a big favorite, when they're kind of lopsided matchup, and as good as Sporting is in their own league, up against Man City, like, they are severely outmanned, in my opinion. So they just get so much possession, and they're around the box so much that it just puts a ton of pressure on these defenders. So PKs happen. I don't want to go crazy often, but like, you raise the chance of PKs because of the way City plays. So not only getting the guy that has sets, but takes the PKs, it's just a double bonus. So Mahrez to me is a lock in all formats. KDB is similar. Obviously if you want to like change up things, those 2 are going to be super high owned. So going to like a Foden, I can't imagine getting off of both of them, but I could see worlds that you get off of one or the other, and for like a Foden or for a Sterling, that type of thing. But in optimal, I think it's KDB, and I think that it is Mahrez. I think the big decision is going to be, do you go for a third City player? Do you go for a Foden or Sterling in cash? Forgo a Messi, Neymar, Mbappe, lesser extent Benzema as your second forward. I'm leaning a PSG piece. I have this soft spot for this guy named Messi. He's pretty good. So, and he's finally starting to show form. So, if I can get to Messi easily, which I feel like I can on this slate, it's really hard for me to pick Foden or Sterling, especially considering Foden and Sterling are showing to be more and more goal dependent. Like, they're going to get you like 5 to 7 floor, but really to get there, you need that goal or assist, and they do have less equity than. All right, let me just pause. Okay, so we were just leaving off that, because they don't have sets, they don't have PKs. I think the goal and assist equity of Sterling and Foden are much less than the other 2. But for stacks, I definitely expect to see people doing like City onslaught type of things. In the midfield, I'm just going to kind of skip over City. I think Gundogan with KDB in it is not really a play for me outside of GPP. It very well probably is going to be Bernardo Silva, which I guess you could put him in the conversation of Foden or Sterling. I just think there's less goal assist equity with him, even less than them. Than whether it's Rodri and Fernandinho. That's just a punt. Cancelo, I think, is the other big decision. Obviously, we know his floor has been great. I think it's been officially established that Cancelo on the left is in fact better than Cancelo on the right. which for like 2 years I've been the opposite. So I'm finally willing to see defeat on that despite him being right-footed, that I prefer him on the left. But the fullbacks on the slate are so underpriced. When you look at the price of Hakimi, if you look at the price of Mendy, of if it's Nuno Mendes, if it's Pedro Porro, all these guys are like 40, I think 300 or below. And then you have Cancelo above 6,000, which I think is going to push people off. So if you kind of want to make him part of like an interesting City stack, I think that could be good. But City center backs are very good play. Ruben Diaz is sub 3,000, and then whether it's Laporte or Stones, they're just a little bit above him. So I think that works. I think that wraps up City for Sporting. I mean, look, if you want to get crazy and you think Sporting is going to win like 2-0, you will find yourself on an island. I believe Pedro Pote, who's also known as Pedro Goncalves, I don't know which one's right. DraftKings calls him Pote. Every other site that I've ever looked at calls him Goncalves. He's by far the best player. He went off hurt 2 games ago, wasn't in the squad. I just did a quick perusing before getting on here. I couldn't find anything definitive if he plays, but I would say for optimal, he's not in play anyways at 6,700 versus City. But for GPP, as like a pairing with like Paulinho, or like with Sarabia, that makes a lot of sense. He and Sarabia would split sets most likely, with Pote taking a majority of them. Pote also takes PKs with him out. I believe it's Sarabia. Just don't hold me to it. Pedro Porro is a really active wingback. Used to be a City player. At 4,000, he's interesting. He could take some sets too. Hasn't been lately, but he can. But I think that's it for the options for Sporting. It's, if you want like a goal or bust, Paulinho, Pote's best player, Sarabia, second best player, former PSG guy, former Sevilla guy, and then Porro for a cheap wingback, who, if they do kind of get I think almost anytime he touches the ball in the attacking third, he's going to get crossed in. So, we've seen some huge games from him. And then Aiden, I think Courtois, let me just say it now while I'm thinking of it, Courtois is going to be the chalk at 4,300. He's been one of the best goalkeepers in the world all season, and he's cheap. So I think that's going to be the chalk pay down. But Aiden is, I think, only like 3,500. He's a good keeper as well. Former Madrid guy. Atletico Madrid guy. And Sporting is a pretty good defensive team in the league. So I think people, could gravitate to him to save 800. I don't know if you need to, but that works. You can do a City sack and run back Sporting keeper. And if you get, I remember for those, that remember the GOAT parlor boss, my good friend Bill, when he was playing, he won one of these slates 2 years ago doing Liverpool stack with Oblak. Liverpool scored 2 goals, had 1 million shots and crosses, and Oblak still got like 8 or 9 saves. So it's doable. It's not crazy. So I think that wraps up that game. Let's go to PSG versus Madrid. PSG, the 3-headed monster, may be back. Neymar's in training. I would love to see notes as we get closer and closer to the game, how fit he is. I mean, if he is full fitness, 7,900 is a really great price for Neymar. We know all of the attacking prowess that he does have. And then what they potentially probably do is do like Neymar. I mean, they would, if Neymar is fit to start, it's going to be Neymar, Mbappe, and Messi, with, Messi and Mbappe probably doing a lot of interchanging. But I would say, I guess that Mbappe starts centrally and then drifts out. But we've been seeing more and more Messi playing central, Mbappe flanking him. And then with Di Maria, he's kind of been a nice player for them. Neymar's going to attract a lot more attention than Di Maria does and attract more ball. But I think of the bunch, I'll just play Messi. I kind of already mentioned it, but he's the greatest player of all time for a reason. He's starting to find form. He has had years upon years of torturing Real Madrid. So what a better time than with his new team at home. This is the reason that PSG went and got Messi, was to make it through. So I expect Messi to show up. And, you get some corners from him. If Neymar is in, it should be Messi and Neymar on corners, Messi on PKs, considering that Sergio Ramos is not there. Actually, that would have been so interesting. I don't know if we've seen it yet, but who's going to take PKs between Mbappe, Messi, and Ramos? Like, you could have told me any of them step up to it, and I believe you. That's such a power struggle there. So, all right, Messi greater than Mbappe, greater than Neymar. But if you put prices in there, it gets super close, and I would not argue with it anyways. I think you should just look at like what fits your lineup better. I'm gonna start building with Messi and hoping that he fits my build the best. After that, I just kind of skipped that midfield three. Idrissa Gueye should be back from AFCON after they won the cup there. My guy that I would like the most of the bunch is Verratti if I had the funds, but he's not like any sort of like that much better than whether it's Gini Wijnaldum, whether it's, I think I saw Ander Herrera's out, so whether it's Gueye, I don't think he's crazy ahead of them, but if like you are perfectly on the spot and Verratti's last man in, I think he's fine. And then the fullbacks are really cheap. Both Nuno Mendes and Hakimi are a lot cheaper than they should be. Both are very attacking minded. Hakimi is probably one of the best attacking fullbacks in the entire world. So I think at 4,300, he's just woefully underpriced. So I don't want to ever say lock and load, because if I needed a couple hundred, I have no problem just dropping down from him to Mendes or Danny Carvajal or Ferland Mendy, anything like that. Kyle Walker even, but right now I'm definitely planning to try to get Hakimi. I think that he is a pretty big misprice there. All right, SPSG, let's go to the Real Madrid side. So Toni Kroos. I was actually hoping and planning to come on here and go like, all right, Toni Kroos at 8,500, you can fade. And then they priced them, I'm blanking, I want to say 6,700. I'm like, oh my God. Like, I really wanted to go in the slate and fade Toni Kroos, and I just think at 6,700, it's too hard to do that. So I think that in cash, he's kind of almost a lock and load. And then in GPP, you can definitely get off of him. I'm not really scared of Toni Kroos's, 20-point games, despite his logs as a dog on the road to PSG. I'm not scared of his upside, but I do think in cash, his floor is really good. Now, he has split sets with Marcos Asensio, who does give you forward eligibility, but it's a little bit more of a sub risk for like Eden Hazard, if they want to kind of change the look of things, or even they could go, put Rodrigo up front with him. I don't think they've been playing Lucas Vasquez up there very much anymore, but So Toni Kroos, I think is the cash play for Real Madrid, along with Courtois. I think it's going to be super, super popular. Benzema GPP, Vinny Jr., I would call more GPP, but I love that as a stack, as a contrarian stack. If you think that PSG kind of poops the bed here, you do like 1-0 Real Madrid, Vinny Jr., Benzema stack with Courtois, stack City, and print money. I could see that very well shipping GPP. Casemiro, I think, is a fine punt. I saw him at 3,500. Luka Modric was like 4,200. Those are both fine punts. Like, I don't think you're plugging them in. I think you're taking care of your City pieces. So you're going to KDB, you're going Mahrez. You're deciding, are you going to do a Foden, Sterling, or a City forward, or are you going to go PSG forward? And this is for cash, right? I think you're probably playing Kroos. That's my opinion. But, I'm not scared of Kroos either way. I just think he's a good floor. Cheap fullbacks, and all of a sudden you're starting to piece through and you go, okay, I'm probably going to get to a punt here depending on things, and whoever fits at that point, I think that you're going to have a much better player than you normally would when we're like, an EPL set, what was it, Sunday, and I'm looking through logs of who's this guy Wolves is randomly starting that's only played for their U21s, right? We don't have that. You're going to have a recognizable name down there. So I think it's a fun slate. I hope that this helped. I'm enjoying it being back. So if you want more info, make sure not only like and subscribe to this video, but there's the link to our site where you can subscribe, jump in the chat. It gets very, very lively before and during the games. There's a lot of questions going around. We cover the showdowns, all that good stuff. So I hope to see you there. With that, I'll say see you.